everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing the first of our vintage recipes and we're starting off with suet dumplings. I am using a Tora suet for this recipe. I'm using the veggie version because Chris doesn't eat beef. Tora is the most recognised brand of suet in the world. They can trace their history back to 1893. The company sells enough suet every year to make over 1 million dumplings per week. I'm going to be referencing this recipe from 1953. The recipe calls for imperial measurements. I have kind of changed these to metric to make it a bit easier if you want to make these at home. So I'm starting with 150 grams of self-raising flour, and to that I am adding 70 grams of the vegetable Tora grated suet. You can also add your flavourings here. I am adding salt, and then I'm also adding a little bit of herb de Provence. You might see this with parsley. I'm not a really big fan of that, so I just went with this. And then I'm starting with 3 tablespoons of chilled water. So we're going to combine all of our ingredients. Now I'm adding in my herbs and salt. If you add one thing, do let it be salt. Then I'm just folding that in and adding a little bit of water at a time. And then mixing it up. And then adding a bit more water until this is kind of like a rough, shaggy mixture. Shaggy? Do you know what I mean? Flaky. Once that is all mixed together, then pop it out onto the side. It might be easier to mix this with your hands, but I have very warm hands and I didn't want to melt all the suet. If you have cold hands, it might be easier. Next, we're going to divide this into 8. Once you've portioned it out, you can then roll it into balls. Once you've done that, you can arrange them onto a plate, and these need to go into the fridge just to firm up a little bit. Any of the fat that has melted will firm up, and it also means the gluten has a little bit of a chance to relax. Whilst those are in the fridge, I thought I'd talk about some of the advertising for Tora. This one is a more high-end one about culinary use. This one is a really fun one that's about keeping kids topped up and full of fuel during winter. Great for the housewife or mother who has a lot of kids to feed. This is an old recipe book for a Tora. Lots of brands used recipe books as advertising. They were often free or in magazines. And this one is saying about how you can use a Tora in your Christmas pudding. And obviously now we do that. Your grandmother probably did it. Here it is. After 20 minutes or so, it is time to pop those dumplings into the hot soup or stew or whatever you're making. This is chicken soup, a classic. So I'm just popping them in. You don't have to be super gentle, they will hold together. And then once you've got them all into the pan, you simply pop a lid on and you let them cook for about 20 minutes. What will happen is they'll sink at first, and then as they cook, they will rise up. After 20 minutes, take the lid off and let them cook for a further 10 minutes so they get that really distinctive browning and sort of skin on top of them. That sounds gross, but it is delicious. I know it sounds strange, but suet is really such a versatile ingredient and it's been used for centuries throughout British cuisine. It was first recorded in the 17th century in a cookbooks of Oxford and Cambridge University for a recipe called English College Pie in 1617. And by 1747, famous cook Hannah Glass could give no fewer than 8 recipes for dumpling, 2 of which were suet. So traditionally, suet is fat from around the kidneys. When it's cleaned, it's grated and ready to use. It has a really high energy content and it's super economical. Because of this, it's been used by the working class families and labourers in Britain for centuries. It was also taken by Captain Scott to the Antarctic in the early 1900s, and that's because of its high calorie content and long shelf life. Finally, it's time to eat. I really hope you like this video. It's something a little bit different from me, and vintage recipes is something I really want to get into this year. If you liked it, then please like and subscribe. I make videos every Sunday and I hope to see you around. Bye!